Hello everybody, thank you for clicking on another one of my videos, and this should be my second video up, and today I'm going to talk about big figures. If you could see what's on this table right here, I'm going to be talking about both Select's big figures that they've made, as well as Hasbro's, and maybe even some of the old Toy Biz ones. I have some down there. But yeah, so I'm in the process of moving, and when you're moving, you always want to make sure you pack your figures in a way where they don't get damaged, or not really a lot of paint shipping. And so I use these big plastic bins, and I usually stack them from lowest, or not lowest, but biggest to smallest. Or also I'll do with like variety, and not variety but rarity of the figure as well, and price. I don't want the expensive stuff to go on the bottom. And for the expensive stuff, I'll also usually keep that boxes for it. For example, like this Guardians of the Galaxy set, I still have the box for that. I love that box set. But yeah, today I'm just going to be tackling the topic of big figures and just showing some appreciation for some of these awesome big figures that they've made over the years. Starting off with taking a look at this Blob figure. Man, when they released this Blob figure, I did not own the old Hasbro Build-A-Figure Blob, and I always really wanted it, but went for, pretty hefty price on the aftermarket. But when they released this Blob figure, it was instant pre-order, because he was one of the few left I needed to complete my Brotherhood. And he's awesome. Just in general, a whole sculpt of this figure. He's big, he's menacing, he fits on a Brotherhood shelf. Let me see if I can. And yeah, so I'm taking down all the figures, but when you put them on the shelf with the rest of them, oh shit, there goes Callisto. But he looks just really good, and I had him as like a centerpiece, Juggernaut on one side, Blob at the other. But yeah, he's just fantastic for display. And I also gave him a bunch of food accessories that I have, like a whole thing full of accessories right here, as you can see. One of these drawers is full of food accessories. But yeah, I give them like a KFC bucket, cheeseburger, french fries. It's great. And I really hope Hasbro does, since they have the whole bowl, body mold for the Blob. Hoping to see maybe, a couple other figures with this body mold. Mainly a Big Bertha, because I personally would like a Great Lake Avengers set. But, Hasbro loving to reuse body parts, I feel like this would be perfect for a character like that. You probably wouldn't even need to change the top half either. I mean, the only thing that would need to be updated, I guess, is the head sculpt. But, or maybe an ultimate Blob. Maybe not. Another figure that I really love that Hasbro done, unique bigger figure, I guess, and this is a Warlock. Now, this Warlock figure, I love this Warlock figure. I got it recently last year at a local comic book store. I got it for about $65, and I couldn't pass up on it. And that's about the price some of these, deluxes or whatever are going for nowadays. And this figure alone, I feel, makes up for it in the paint department. Just the black wash, everything about it, the sculpt's so unique. The fact that they did a Warlock in general is just, it's it's fantastic to me. It's fantastic. It's just great figure, head sculpt's awesome. Only thing that we need now is a Doug or a Douglock. That'd be great. I have a custom idea for a Cameron Hodge, and you know me, I do like doing some customs, So I do have an idea for Cameron Hodge. It involves a Scorponok from Transformers, the old studio series, and some paper. Next, I would like to talk about this figure, and even though, as of this recording, they have announced an update, a new Juggernaut for that Marvel vs. Capcom line, which I will be buying into, that whole entire line. Just still wanted to talk about this Juggernaut figure, because for the longest time, this was one of my favorite figures in my collection, and still is probably one of my favorite figures. I never owned the Toy Biz Juggernaut, and I always really wanted to as a child. And, this figure was great, is still great actually, but looking to update it, of course, and honestly probably put this in new locations, because I always find a home for most of my figures. I don't like keeping them in box. I like to think of myself as a completionist, because as bad as that is too, as a college student, I like to collect everything that they put out, for the most part. Re-releases, like plain re-releases, I probably don't go after as much anymore. Like, I won't. But this Juggernaut, it's such a significant upgrade that I have to. Behind him is the next figure I'm going to talk about, is Strong Guy. Another, I want to say 100%, yeah, 100% unique sculpt. I mean, the whole chest is new. Arms, legs, legs might, no, they're probably new as well. But man, just, Strong Guy is one of the few characters I had as training. And I'm not that old, okay? I'm not going to lie. I'm in my early 20s, but I have a lot of memorabilia from the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, early up until the early 2000s, just trading cards and comics in general. That's where a lot of my stuff comes from. But Strong Guy was on a lot of those X Factor like trading cards that I had. Or I also had a Jim Lee art book, and it was like one of my favorite things. And he drew Strong Guy, and I was like, whoa! Just one of the craziest just funniest looking characters. His name was Guido, I think. Just that alone, his looking like that. It's awesome. One of the next figures I want to talk about is this Hulkbuster figure, and this is the only Hulkbuster in my collection, but that is all I really need for a Hulkbuster is this. It's fantastic. Articulation might not all be there. I still think out of all the Hulkbusters that we got, probably the original movie release, MCU release, which I never completed. I had like 3 parts, as I'm mainly only a comic collector. But that figure, man, for the longest time I did want it, and it was one of the few MCU figures I did want. It still looks awesome, but man, I can't pass up on this. When they announced the comic book version, and it's huge too. Hold on, for size comparison, bring that Hulk body mold here. His first appearance, or Grey Hulk in general. I don't really like to think of this as a first appearance Hulk. I have the original Toy Biz Jack Kirby designed Grey Hulk, and that figure still stands up till this day. I have it on my Hulk shelf as well as a first appearance look. This to me is more just in general a Grey Hulk. I want to get a custom like Todd McFarlane head for it. That's close enough though, because I do like McFarlane's drawings, his artwork from back in the day, and definitely that Hulk would be awesome. Moving on to Select, I prefer Select when it comes to big figures, and as I was saying with the Hulkbuster, I don't need another one in my collection, but if I were to get another one, yeah, it would probably be the Select version, because the paint, articulation is probably the same as this guy, but the paint work on that thing is fantastic, and I guess height, he's more of a traditional comic book height. This is more aligned with how, the MCU has the Hulkbuster a lot bigger than the Hulk. I think it should be bigger, just not too much bigger. But this Thanos, again, I don't have the Walmart Thanos that came out a couple years ago. I do still want that figure because I've now see this figure in its age. But for what it's worth, a lot of the big characters I don't mind to be articulated as long as, they stand out well in a 1/12 scale display. And this Thanos figure is fantastic. If I were to ever do a Thanos and, his guard, what are they called? Like the 5, damn it, I can't remember what they're called. This would be the figure I would have in the front with that Drax and Adam Warlock and hopefully a Nebula. I'm working on a Nebula custom right now. I'm just painting the head from the What If, changing up the body a little bit, but maybe a custom paint job. Hopefully we'll have a Nebula soon, but I'm just surprised that they haven't announced one, if anything. But yeah, this Thanos figure came out, I think, back in like 2004 or 5 or something like that, and it came with a Death accessory, which still to this day, I love Marvel Select for packing in the most that you can. And with Thanos, they gave you really the only things that he really needs, I guess, is the Infinity Gauntlet and his lover, Death. Now, I don't own the original Mortal Hulk release from Select, but I do own the Red Hulk, which is the same buck, just red, and it's a different character, but with the same buck, and I love this thing. I really wish I owned the Immortal Hulk, even though I had the Maximum in my pile of loot. He's not here right now. I probably should have waited to make this, but it's the only time I'm going to have all these big figures out since I'm moving, and why not? So this Red Hulk figure, fantastic. Now, I have these Legends, the Target Red Hulk, I think, from Target, right? And this thing just towers it. It's insane. But again, this is the Hulk body mold that Hasbro's still using, till this day. Matches up well with Juggernaut, but, you can't use Immortal Hulk with this Juggernaut. Maybe that new one, perhaps, but, this figure, I would like to use, like, display purposes that I use it for, is I've taken some pictures on, the Thunderbolts Red team. With this figure, not necessarily this one, because when you're doing, like, you know, the scaling of all the figures and stuff, when you're doing toy photography, it looks way better with the Select. And in general, that figure is just way better looking. Head sculpts wise, proportions wise. You know, I love this Hulk body. It's done. You know, we've gotten the most out of it, I feel like, but it's time for a new Hulk book, at least in the Marvel Legends line. This figure still does work. I have this figure on my current Hulk shelf. I think I'm gonna move him soon though to like the Avengers shelf, because again, I want to have a Thunderbolts red display, and this would be great. Him currently is in my Masters of Evil shelf, and he is my current like evil iteration of the Red Hulk. Still sick figure in my opinion. Another Select figure I feel like is fantastic for our Legends display, and you know, bigger one, is this Apocalypse that released I think a year or two ago. And this Apocalypse figure, here, let me move this Red Hulk, put him center stage. It's fantastic. It came with multiple accessories, you know, how he changes his arms. Currently have him with both. These wires can be a bit annoying. I wish they were more flexible, but they're not. I can't really complain. One thing I can complain about is the head sculpt is way too big, and it does kind of suck. I haven't popped it off yet. I do have the retro card Apocalypse head that I would like to use on this. Probably should do that, but I'll wait. Because Select's heads are pretty hard to pull off, at least in my opinion. You know, you need to do the water if it's not a figure that came with extra heads. I just haven't got around to it, but yeah, this figure's fantastic. Scale-wise, let me see. Just pulling a quick Cyclops out. Yes, he scales perfectly with, you know, your average size 6-inch X-Men, or compared to another X-Men villain, I guess. The next one I'm going to talk about is this Onslaught Build-A-Figure from back in the day. He still towers over that, which I do kind of... I heard that they're making a new Onslaught, but I love this Onslaught figure so much, this Build-A-Figure. Really hope it's not a re-release, and I really hope it's the, like, the Onslaught bug design. Again, another toy this figure. Actually, one of the few I own and had on my shelf, because we haven't got another version of that one yet. But this Onslaught, I love this design, the 90s design, the original design for Onslaught. It's just great. It just maybe a little bit too small. Maybe it could have been, you know, just a tad bigger. Maybe like there. I would have been fine with it being maybe that big. Just a little bit bigger. Because Onslaught's menacing, you know? He's pretty big. And that figure does do it justice in some ways, especially when it came out. But it came with a red, I think, Red Skull head. It was a bullshit Build-A-Figure in my opinion, until they packed in the Onslaught head with Kitty Pryde and made it fantastic. You know, just one thing can change a figure. Next big figure, I guess. I mean, I'm just looking around my room now at this point. I've already moved away from the table. Drax, you know, I think this is the Venom body mold. A Monster Venom body mold, I think. Or Caliban. I think it's the Caliban, actually. One of my favorite body molds. Wish they would use that more. Maybe make it pinless, because it's one of the better... It's like the... Not the biggest, but it's like when you need a big, like, you know, husky character. Pretty husky type of character. Like, that would work. This would work well with, like, a, yeah, honestly, it works well with Venom. I'm shocked we haven't seen Caliban body mold used on a Venom figure yet. I'm surprised, actually. Let me think. Who could work on that body mold? You know, if they ever did, like, a 90s, like, you know, animated series Sabretooth, I would say maybe Sabretooth would go really well in that body mold. Not really a big figure, but I love it. Move out of the way. I love this figure. The Thing figure, just the first Walgreens release, the wash on it, everything about it is just perfect. Sculpt, all new, you know, when they released this. Wish they would give us a pantsed version of this, you know, just in general, of any Thing figure, but gosh, that Thing figure is fantastic. Not really a big figure. I guess you know, he's even packaged in a normal sized box. I'm gonna fix that later. But, you know, fantastic figure. Groot, he's a big figure. I wish I had the Select Groot, because that one, I wouldn't say it'd get replaced. It would be probably with that Drax, with the, you know, unknown, unwanted attires for the Guardians that I don't know where to put now. But, you know, he's on that old Bath body mold, which is really lanky, feels kind of cheap, feels kind of, you know, just, it's not the best. But for a comic book, you know, Groot, it works, and that head sculpt, you know, it has the height. For the most part, it's pretty tall. I wish it might, you know, maybe a little taller, but that's still a pretty tall figure. It's about 9 inches, 10 inches, I think. And that head sculpt is fantastic. Maybe the head sculpt adds a little height. Which odd. I mean, He's on that abomination buck, which probably should have been bigger, you know, and there's certain things that they didn't change, like the hands. You know, they didn't give him 3 fingers, they gave him a normal amount. Just certain things, little here's and there's that they could have made that, excuse me, figure so much better. This Ronin, I don't think this is unique. I think this is on a Colossus body. Maybe he's not that big.